So this is basically part two of the consequences of connectivity part of Unit 2, and it really breaks down by theme. In the last video, we looked at culture. This week, we're looking at how humans interact with their environment, what we do to it, and what it does to us. As you can imagine, especially in light of recent events, this video is taking place during the time of the coronavirus crisis. People traveling all over the world for trade, pilgrimages, and other reasons means that they bring microbes and plants with them. Some of these are more helpful than others. We'll start with the helpful ones. I've already mentioned how knowledge of the monsoon winds and how best to harness them throughout the course of the year made Indian Ocean trade possible. And it's difficult to say whether that's technology or the environment, but it's super important, so I'll say it again. Other ways that people use the environment to benefit trade was by doing what we call diffusing beneficial crops. In the Islamic world, or Dar al-Islam, the interconnected caliphate transferred agricultural crops and practices all the way from Spain to Persia and back again. Sugarcane, rice, apricots, artichokes, citrus, and bananas went all over the world. Persian-style irrigation and reservoir techniques were spread to Tunisia and Morocco along the Sahara. This emphasis on new and more productive agricultural techniques contributed to an Islamic green revolution that led to increased food production, population growth and stability, urbanization, commercialization, and industrial development across the Islamic world. After the collapse of the Abbasids at the bow points of the Mongols took the charge on creating change of a different sort. We've already given them plenty of credit for the cultural and economic transfers they facilitated, but now we have to talk about the plague. Diseases really flourish in urban settings where they can easily make the jump from person to person. When the bacterium that would eventually be known as Yersinia pestis emerged in China in the middle of the 14th century, it easily made the jump as a blood-borne pathogen from fleas to rats on ships to humans in every port and trading city along the way. It's a nasty disease. It swells the lymph nodes to where they turn black and purple and explode pus. Your fever is so high that basically you're dead in 3 days. This level of morbidity meant that during the spike in Western Europe from 1347 to 1349 or 1350, nearly half the population died. And in some cities like London, it was closer to 75%. As you can imagine, in an environment where the death rate is that high and that quick, basic human relationships crumble, city infrastructure collapses, agricultural production basically disappears, and people begin to question everything about their society. Scholars like Petrarch, normally so gifted with words, were left pondering morosely. When, at any time, has such a thing been seen or spoken of? Has what happened in these years ever been read about? Empty houses, derelict cities, ruined estates, fields strewn with cadavers, a horrible and vast solitude encompassing the whole world. Yikes, that's deep stuff. Many people, as you can imagine, sought answers in their faith, whether it be Christianity or Islam. People joined groups of penitents, wandering and asking for forgiveness, or punishing their bodies in the streets. Some people turned away from religion, questioning whether there could be a God in a world so cruel. This questioning of church teachings, coupled with the massive loss of life and structure, paved the way for major changes in Europe, most of all. As the death toll became more clear and labor shortages became extreme, the strict feudal system requiring serfs to complete projects for their lords with little to no compensation began to fall apart. The serfs became so bold about their newfound value that King Edward III of England in 1351 declared, "I, Edward, by the grace of God, King of England, sent this decree to the Sheriff of Kent. A great portion of the people of our realm have recently died. Those who survive see that masters need servants, which are scarce, and the servants will not serve unless they receive excessive wages. After consulting with the nobles and clergy, we've decided that every man and woman of our realm of England shall be required to serve his or her lord at the wages that were provided in the year 1346. Merchants, those who belong to craft guilds, and those who own their land are exempt from this rule. The lords are entitled to keep their serfs. If any such serf, man or woman, who is required to serve their lord will not do so, they shall immediately be committed to jail." Feudalism, as you can tell, was on its way out after this. Furthermore, the increased economic output in the years after the plague, there was a surplus of food and goods because the population was so low, led to increased urbanization and commercialization throughout Europe. These surpluses freed up many to pursue other passions, and this, coupled with a newfound value placed on individual life, was a major contributing factor to the Renaissance. Overall, the epic disruptions of the plague caused enormous change. Trade declined across basically all regions. The Mongol Empire, dependent as it was on trade, started to crumble. The Yuan dynasty was almost dead. It would die in 1368. In Europe, well, Europe would come out ahead after such devastating losses.